Good evening, everyone. This is a follow-up presentation to the one that we did last week called Disclosure in Progress. This one follows up immediately. It's called The Manufacture of Anti-Gravitic Craft. So let's get right into it. This is the thing that I really wanted to show you, and this is the thing that is going to transform our civilization. This is everywhere, all over the world. Everything's going to be transformed by the things we're going to talk about tonight. Very provocative, but I think by the time we get to the end of it, you're going to see why I'm making such a bold claim. David Wilcock on September 16th on YouTube did a video, which we're going to quote him again. I will repeat, I've been following David for 11 years plus. I've seen his work. I haven't vetted him overnight. He is the real deal, and he doesn't have a scientific background, but he's a scientific investigator. I do have a scientific background. I have a PhD in engineering from Imperial College in London, England, which at the time was the #1 engineering school in Europe. And I vetted his stuff, and I believe that he is very adept in matters of science and engineering, and I believe in many of the things that he talks about. But here's the game changer right here. I am working on hovercraft car technology right now. I'm not joking. I'm not going to talk about it until we've got something for you. We've gotten pretty close. Once we've gotten to that point, I can talk a lot more. But several of Pete Peterson's associates are working with me on this. It's very, very real. They are in the process of developing a hover car, which essentially is anti-gravitic technology. And we've given you an example in movies and popular film, in this case in Star Wars, where you have this speeder that races across. It doesn't have any wheels. It's clearly an anti-gravitic technology, and that allows the craft to go at very high speeds. Okay, so he, along with other colleagues, are making a vehicle with this technology in it that has this very advanced physics in it. You may recall from Disclosure Has Begun, which we did on July 26th, that To the Stars Academy, which is headed up by Tom DeLonge, the former lead singer of Blink-182, is developing also the same technology, and they're going to show experiments that they've done with this technology. It's anti-gravitic technology, according to his tweet from July 25th, 2020. He is developing this technology at the same time as David Wilcock's group is developing this technology. Okay, so here's the point we want to make. What we're trying to say is, folks, is we're connecting the dots. We're not asking you to believe anything. There's nothing to believe. It's happening. It's here. Doesn't require belief, only requires you to understand. Only requires you to know and understand, not believe. So what is the path that we're being led down? Number one, April 27th, the United States Navy confirmed videos of a UAP, what they call an unidentified aerial phenomena, was released to the Stars Academy. That's Tom DeLonge's group. That these videos were from F-18 aircraft in the Atlantic and in the Pacific, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. This is happening right now. History's being made. You're going to live in historic times, and these things are all happening, and they're all very real. On July 23rd, 2020, ex and current U.S. Naval Intelligence personnel revealed to the New York Times that off-world vehicles, let's repeat, off-world vehicles were recovered by the U.S. military. So they're telling you that they have been taking vehicles not from this world. They have them in their possession, and they're going to tell you in the future, let's hope it's in the near future, something about this technology. Now what we're saying is that companies are making technologies based on physics that are presently and currently unknown in world universities. This is not being taught. In fact, the physics that we're talking about is not even understood by most of the physicists who work in these areas. Okay, so we cannot say this for sure, but we could say it with a great degree of certainty, but we can't say it absolutely for certain. And that is clearly they've taken the technologies from these off-world craft, they've reverse engineered them over a period of time. I'm going to say it's many decades. I don't know that for sure, but I would say probably. And so therefore, that's why they're able to do this. They're finally disclosing to you that this is the harvest. This is what they've taken from these off-world devices, these off-world vehicles, and now we're seeing what it actually does. Now, this is one of the possible things that was coming with this disclosure, and now we know that this is actually what it is. Okay, Salvador Pais, who is an engineer and physicist with the US Navy, is the one who has several of these patents on which this technology is based. And here's what David Wilcox says about this. The military, US military, has handed this to us. As I said before, Salvatore Pais translate as savior of our nation. So why would the military save our country by releasing these patents? This is his speculation. Well, I think it's pretty obvious. We've talked about the Space Force on a lot of other videos, suggesting this forbidden technology is going to be part of what we're going to get. And somebody I'm working with is one of about 5. I've been briefed, and we're all working on this. And we're kind of like in a little race with each other, who's going to do it first. So the reason for the patent release is now made plain. There are 5 groups developing anti-gravitic technology, which is going to transform our civilization into a interstellar race. That's what's happening right now as we speak. Okay, to repeat what we've already done before, this is Salvatore Pais. He's the real deal. He has a PhD in mechanical and aerospace engineering from Case Western University. He worked at a naval base at Patuxent River in Maryland. He's now working in Washington, D.C. with the Department of Defense on what is called strategic systems programs. This is one of the videos that we've seen before, and we're going to see a little, what looks like a little white tic tac that's moving underwater, and this was filmed from an F-18 while they're tracking this moving in the water. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this HAUC in just a minute. So I'm just going to play this video for you so that you can watch this. Okay, so the speculation in the past was that, was this an extraterrestrial vehicle? What was this? And now what we're going to do is propose to you that this is craft or vehicles that we currently have, and obviously they're the ones that belong to the US military. 11 years before, that was in the Atlantic Ocean. This is a Pacific theater off the coast of the California. There was an encounter on November 14th by a man named Commander Fravor, who was piloting a F-18 aircraft off the USS Nimitz, and the USS Princeton was also part of this battle group. This is a figure from an April 2020 document that examined in minute detail everything about this particular encounter with these things that they called white tic tacs. So this manuscript, which I have a copy of, has a lot of detailed information just to verify everything that they're saying, and I highly recommend that you have a look at it. What they claim is that they encountered 20 or as many as 20 of these vehicles, one of which was the kind that you were looking at in this video we just looked at. So David Wilcock talks about this vehicle, and he connects it to Salvatore Pais's patent. It's called a hybrid air underwater craft. The patent says it is anti-gravitic, and he makes the obvious statement, we have compelling evidence, we've already built these. This is a figure from also this manuscript of this tic tac. Apparently it's about 45 feet across. It's got a thin end like a tic tac, and it's got a fatter end in the middle. David explains in his video as to how this actually works. There's an interior hull and an exterior hull. A very high electromagnetic energy field is created, and within this gap between the exterior hull of the tic tac and the interior hull, there is these things he calls charge clusters that are developed from this very powerful electromagnetic energy. This follows precisely the description that's given of US Patent 2019-029-5733 called the plasma compression fusion device, with the patenter being Salvatore Pais. What David says is that they send an electric current down a needle. When the current comes down the needle to a point, it releases a little ball of energy, and this is what he calls charge cluster, and this is generated in this particular device, which causes, according to Pais, nuclear fusion. So here's what he says. Thermonuclear fusion involves the forcing together unification of light nuclei to form a heavier nucleus, which due to the mass defect occurs with the generation of energy. So what it does is generates extremely high temperatures, and these extremely high temperatures result in fusion, and the fusion produces even more energy. In this particular case, it's also part of what causes the craft to generate these anti-gravitic waves. You can see that in these devices, there's like a needle. The energy is going in from these different sides. I understand they're spinning, and in the center is where this plasma is created. Another purpose for this is it's also a power generator. There was an article in October 30th, 2019, Forbes magazine by Cohen that describes this particular patent. He describes the idea that the claim made by Salvatore Pais is that this uses nuclear fusion to generate the energy. The incredible thing about this technology is that it could produce up to a terawatt, that's 1 trillion watts of energy from only 1 million watts of energy input, which is quite incredible. For reference, he says a large nuclear power plant produces around 1 gigawatt of power, enough to supply some 700,000 American homes. So it's no wonder, as he says, then, that the US naval patent claim has come under scrutiny, because the device is only 1/3 of a meter to 2 meters in diameter, and yet it generates all of this power. So this is not only a power source for a craft, but it's also an unlimited power source that would be for the rest of the Earth as well. Now, the analog to this, these little charged groupings is called bald lightning, and this is a video of bald lightning and a description that's from Scientific American article in 1997, quoting Martin Uman, who is the chair of the Department of Electrical Computer Engineering at University of Florida. Ball lightning is very well documented. It has been seen by apparently about 5% of people. There's no accepted theory of what causes it, but he says it does not necessarily consist of plasma. Most believe that it is plasma, or it causes, it results in plasma, and what you're looking at is a ball of plasma. According to the patent by Paez, that's exactly what it is. So let's just play this for you a little bit, and you'll see some natural example of ball lightning in nature. Okay, so you get the idea that this plasma is something that's created by electromagnetic energy of an intense form, in this case from lightning, and this has something to do with gravity. So let's repeat what David Wilcox said that we had in the previous video about a week ago. What happens is gravity is turning into electromagnetic energy, and electromagnetic energy is turning into gravity. And what is light? Light is electromagnetic energy, so it glows. A lot of these balls end up glowing, charge clusters glow. Now we get to US patent 2018-0229-864, high frequency gravitational wave generator. The idea is that a gravitational field can be created by having a very high power electromagnetic field generator, and Salvatore Pais, in his own patent, says the following: in a peer-reviewed paper by the inventor entitled The High Energy Electromagnetic Field Generator, published in the International Journal of Space Science and Engineering, Volume 3, Number 4. The inventor discusses the possibility of inertial or gravitational mass reduction. In this manner, the local space-time energy density is modified. These systems would be strategically placed on an intergalactic craft. There we go, folks. He's saying it right to you. These are the technologies that go into spacecraft for interstellar transport. Here is an abstract from the actual paper that he presented in 2015, conditional possibility of spacecraft propulsion that's superluminal, that's faster than light speed. And here's what they do. There is, when the vehicle gets to half the speed of light, c is the speed of light, which is 670 million miles per hour. When it gets half to that speed, the energy mass system of the craft is transformed, and by reducing the inertia of the vehicle, in other words, by affecting the mass, they're able to propel the craft at faster than light speeds. We presented this in Disclosure Has Been Begun July 26th. And this is the patent 2017-0313-446, inertial mass reduction. Once again, an artificially generated high energy electromagnetic field causes this to occur, and as a result, he says, extreme speeds can be achieved. So in other words, folks, what they're trying to do is to show you we're going to have commercially available vehicles. According to David Wilcock, he claims that they'll have a mass-produced vehicles of these hovercraft type that will be available in 4 years. I dare say there's people who are going to be able to do it faster. We're going to have energy generation that's going to be, one of these little devices will generate more energy than the top 10 nuclear power facilities in the world presently. All of these things are coming. It's not, doesn't require your belief. David, along with myself today, we're just explaining what it is. The patent's already out there. People are already turning this into technology, or as Bruno Mars famously says in his song, the very popular song, Uptown Funk, don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. We're not at, folks, we're not at the point where we have to believe anything. You're just going to watch it reeling out. The problem is that the world is so focused on all this other stuff, they're missing this is happening right under your nose. Our world is going to change, and you're going to be living in a changed world. Okay, let's go back to something else, and this gets even more amazing and interesting. And folks, this is the game changer right here. By shielding gravity, that you shield time, and you have a time machine. By definition, an anti-gravity machine is a time machine. Let me repeat that. By definition, an anti-gravity machine is a time machine. This is the big secret everyone knows in the inside world. When you shield off gravity, you shield off the flow of time. We talked about that last time. And now time doesn't move for you in this local area. I've got a little diagram here where the blue lines are the flow of time. This is time energy, which is flowing. When you create one of these anti-gravitic fields, you create a time bubble. And what happens, folks, is that the time within the bubble is different than the time outside of the bubble. Literally, what you can do is freeze time so that time does not move at all inside the bubble. while time passes normally on the outside of the bubble. What does this mean? Let's go back to what we said last time. We described the physics of Dewey Larson. He wrote his stuff in the 60s. This is Ronald Satz, who was a professor that wrote about this physics. When you shield time, the physical world of 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time goes away, and what you have is a 3-dimensional time world. So you enter 3-dimensional time. Let's see what David says. Gravity is what keeps you stuck in 3 dimensions of space, apparently only in 1 dimension. When you turn the gravity off, let's go back, when you create a time bubble, when you turn the gravity off, now you're in a 3-dimensional time world and you can move around. Now, if you move around in space, and that process is by something we call velocity, what happens when you move around in a 3-dimensional space, time world? Aren't you moving in time? The answer is, of course you are. If you shield gravity, you can either go forward or backward in time by traveling in a direction. So the vehicles will necessarily allow time travel. That's correct. It's a time machine. And by going through this 3-dimensional 3D time landscape, time travel can be achieved. Folks, doesn't require you to believe it, just requires you to watch. Don't believe me, just watch. This is what we're going into. All I'm doing is explaining the physics of it. I'm just giving you a heads up so that you're aware when all of this occurs, you're ready for these world-changing things that are going to take us a great leap forward into the future, which apparently comes from off-world vehicles that have been reverse engineered. Now I want to shift to the spiritual realms, and I want to talk about the 3 books of Jürgen Burgess, and I want to talk about some poems that already anticipate these particular things that we would call discoveries. But frankly, there are many in our military that have known these things for a long time. This is a poem from a book, the second book in Jürgen Burgess's trilogy called The Galactic Renewal. It's called The Higher Thoughts. And I want you to look at the physics it describes while describing spiritual things. The higher thoughts are streams of time. Streams of time that join and separate in rivers and channels. A human of earth blending with his God, not necessarily the God of the Bible, blending with his God, the thoughts become entangled and cannot be separated, and what is mixed cannot be unmixed. There is no path of reversal except reversing time itself, and that is a power of God's that they do not grant. This is one from Collections, which is the first book, called Destiny. The destiny of my creation is in the light. As time unfolds, the space that expresses the meaning that I desire to portray. The I in this poem is Yahweh, the God of the Bible. The light fixes the order that things must appear, and it cannot be otherwise in the mass of spirit. Light is not restricted by the things that bind. It cannot be contained by the things that mass. I bathe my soul in the light of destiny, and I shine it forth into the cosmos unrestricted, so that you can see from Logos red what has been portrayed for the souls of the cosmos that Eloah cares for as a mother. And here's another one called Time. Time emerges from the light of its source and fixes the events that need to be seen. The wise know how to separate time from light, but it is unknown to those who live in the material life. I call it day, and so it is. but time is sufficient in what I have called day, and I left its other as night, so that time without light could be known, but day and night are not without light, and so time cannot be without him either. At the gathering of light, time is expressed and transmitted over balance into the realms of spirit that exist in differing layers that all commute between layers of depiction. And we'll end with this. David Wilcock makes the statement, all anti-gravity must be time travel. He's relating actual experiences apparently performed by insiders who know about these things with our US military. They can make a time bubble where you can spend a long time learning certain information. And then you come up, it's like you never left. You might spend 6 months or a year learning ancient Latin. Once we become a time travel society, we instantaneously become way more advanced because right away we can zip ahead to the furthest point that we achieved and bring it back to where we are. It's pretty mind-boggling stuff, isn't it? That's another reason why you don't want to let people in the past get a hold of this stuff. And we'll end our presentation this evening with a quote from The Ways of the King, the third book in the trilogy by Jürgen Burgess, called The Travelers. These are time travelers. The travelers wander from place to place and from time to time. He is constrained by the laws Yahweh has decreed, but the traveler belongs to no kingdom except Yahweh's. The traveler is the greatest of all, for Yahweh alone is his king. The traveler rides the great currents of time and discovers there the diversity of Yahweh's pleasure in the places he makes. The king shall not constrain the wanderers and the travelers, for who is to know what their true mission is or what they shall discover? The traveler proclaims the kingdoms of Yahweh to those who have not heard yet his name. He is the greatest of his emissaries, and his ways are exceeded only by the angels of Yahweh. Thank you very much for your focus and watching our presentation this evening. And I will continue to produce videos as this disclosure occurs and as these things come to light. Have a good evening, and we'll see you next time.